So you ever notice how people with CPTSD tend to think in extremes, right? If I'm not perfect, then of course I have to be worthless, right? If someone disappoints me, then they're dead to me. Or I'm going to be dead to them because I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm outrageous, I'm unlovable. If that sounds like you, well, welcome to the world of black and white thinking. It happens to all of us, especially when you have that CPTSD brain. So now, before you roll your eyes and say, oh great, another cognitive distortion lecture, I've heard that 100 freaking times. Well, this one is going to be different, I promise, because black and white thinking isn't just some abstract idea. For trauma survivors, especially those with CPTSD, it's a survival strategy. It's not about being dramatic or even stubborn. It's about literally staying alive. My mouth doesn't work. Literally staying alive. That's what it's about. Okay, so let's rewind a bit. So when you grow up in chaos with unpredictable parents, abuse, neglect, or just in constant emotional whiplash back and forth, you're loved, you're not loved, you're being safe, you're not being safe, your nervous system gets trained to scan for danger 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, sometimes 8 days a week, when you add that extra Monday to that Sunday. They call it must Sunday. And so what that teaches your brain very early on, that ambiguity equals risk. So to make things feel safer, I need to simplify things for myself. I need to put things into two neat categories: good or bad, safe or unseen, loved or hated. There can't be no in between. It's basically the equivalent of your brain saying, hey, look, I don't have time to analyze shades of gray, because if someone's about to explode, I need to be able to read that ASAP. So instead of saying, mom's having a bad day, your body says, yeah, mom's a crazy biatch and she's super unsafe. Instead of saying, my boss gave me feedback, it's my boss hates me, he wants me dead, he's probably gonna fire me, and I'm gonna be homeless on the street. Matter of fact, I should go apply for a job at that coffee shop down the road. Yeah, that's the end of my life. The unfortunate truth is, black and white thinking keeps us prepared. And predictability for traumatized brains, well, that's the closest thing we ever get to peace. Now, if you ever notice yourself flipping between two extremes, right? Like loving someone in the moment and then the next moment you despise them. But if you have CPTSD, that's just the equivalent of saying, you know what? I feel stable. I feel unstable because something they did with their face, something they said, it just triggered me. And so your nervous system goes, oh, okay, that's the emotional equivalent of just ducking for cover, because maybe that face that they made meant they were going to be dangerous. But it might have been they just had an itch in their eye. But the twist about that is what kept you safe, right? As a kid, being able to predict your mom, your dad, or your primary caretaker's behavior who was unsafe. Well, when you translate that and bring that into adult life, when you do that kind of behavior, that hypervigilance, that constant scanning, the fawning, the freezing, the fighting, and all that stuff, well, it doesn't really serve you. It actually makes you stuck as a grown-up because you no longer need to survive in a dangerous environment, hopefully. And the reality is, when your brain doesn't see the little nuances in life, it misses the humanity of what makes us human. And more importantly, it misses what lives in the middle. Relationships crumble, jobs feel unbearable, and your sense of safety, well, it swings like a pendulum between I'm amazing and I'm super garbage. Okay, so enough of the doom and gloom, bro. Let's talk about how we can manage our thinking from black and white to more in between. So let's talk about the 5 different ways that we can stop from black and white thinking. So number 1 is name it when it's happening. Catch yourself in the act, right? That moment you think, you know what? I'm completely screwed and it's up to me to say stop. Well, that's the moment that you fight back and you give yourself a little cognitive space to say, you know what? I'm okay. I'm doing nothing wrong. This is going to pass. Let me breathe. Let me chill. Everything is fine. And so what that simple awareness does, it teaches you, that's not a word. It teaches you to interrupt that negative autopilot response. And instead of filling in with a whole bunch of negative space and a whole bunch of negative talk, you go, oh, okay, I'm going to bring awareness to this trauma trigger that I'm about to start feeling. So I'm not going to let it ruminate and fester. I'm going to say, chill. Everything is cool. Let's be aware. And let's not go into survival mode. The good thing about that is once you start doing this on a regular basis, you start to notice how crazy your brain can get and you start to laugh at it and you go, okay, let's not go into that black and white mode today. Let's do some grounding technique. Let's do some breath work. Let's say, hey, you're thinking in black and white terms. Life lives in the shades of gray. Everything is okay. So instead of telling yourself, oh, I forgot to text back, so I must be a terrible friend, now I got to go run off into the woods, you can go, oh, my bad. Hey, I'm sorry. I got busy. I forgot to text back. Maybe let's hang out on Friday. And they go, cool, you're not an evil freaking dramatic person. All good. Number 2 is reframe the story. Your trauma brain loves to define statements as always, never, everyone, no one, Those are big ass red flags. So try swapping that with something like, I'm flexible, it's okay, maybe next time, that's cool. Another way of thinking about it, instead of saying I always mess things up, maybe say sometimes I do mess things up and sometimes I don't. And that's okay, because Joe said that's the shades of gray. 50 shades of being in the middle of gray. Sounding kind of crazy. And I know that sounds like, yo, that sounds like denial, bro. But it's not. It's balance. You're training your brain to tolerate uncertainty without collapsing and saying, you know what, I'm a toddler and now I'm going to have to overreact because my developmental brain is not ready yet. And I have to deal with all problems by crying and throwing a tantrum and running away and pooping on myself. Don't do that. Number 3 is practice emotional ambivalence. That's a nice word. And so what basically that means is two things can be true at the same time, right? So I can love my mom, but I also can still be angry at my mom. I can be in the process of healing, but I'm still having a freaking badass day. I've been trauma triggered all day today, and that's fine. And I know this one's gonna sound a little crazy, but you can still be confident and still feel insecure at times. That's perfectly human. And so that's not hypocrisy, that's actually maturity. That's a sign that you're starting to heal and things don't live in the black and white area as much anymore. They're starting to come more into the center. Because think about it, a seesaw, right? Seesaw goes like that. A seesaw is unbalanced until you put it in the middle. And what keeps it balanced is a little thing that they put in the middle. That keeps the seesaw balanced. That's a weird ass analogy. So the ability to hold complexity is what separates survival mode from healing mode. Those are two distinct modes. So this is what exactly makes you emotionally bilingual, fluent in both I'm okay and yeah, I'm struggling today, no bueno, otra vez, mañana. So when you start doing this, your relationships get deeper, your self-talk gets a lot softer, and you stop expecting yourself just to be in this one consistent emotional robot mood all the time. I have to be perfect. That's not human. We have an array of emotions throughout the day, an array of moods, right? Hopefully we don't fluctuate too far, too extreme, but sometimes we feel tired, sometimes we feel up, sometimes we feel, I need a break. And that's fine. It's Friday. So number 4 is regulate before you reason. Just remember, you can't logic your way out of black and white thinking when your body's in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. When your heart's racing and your muscles are tight, right? Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain that I always point to, well, that basically left the goddamn chat. It's not there anymore. And that amygdala, Amy, the one I always talk about as well, that one is in control. That's scanning for danger, 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 danger. So in order to calm that thing down, breathe, ground yourself, shake, walk, come back into your present body, and then you can rationalize and use logic. The important thing to realize is once your body feels calm, your brain gets access to the gray matter, right? That gray balance in between, not on the extreme side of things, because you can't see nuances when you're in flight, fight, freeze, or fawn mode, and your nervous system thinks that you're in a burning building, because that's when you need to just get the fuck out of the building, because you're gonna die if you don't leave the fire, and that's not good. And finally, learn to trust the middle ground. I keep hitting the damn microphone. So this is the hardest one, believe it or not, because trauma makes that middle ground just feel super unsafe. You might associate calm right before the storm, and the storm meant that danger is about to happen. You're about to be abused, you're about to be used, you're about to be neglected, right? So in the past, when things got quiet, it didn't mean good things were gonna happen. In other words, when things get quiet, your brain goes, yeah, there's something wrong. What's about to explode? But healing, it means that balance isn't danger, right? That silence actually is safety. That peace doesn't mean that the other shoe is about to drop. And it means that you can finally stop walking on eggshells because everything's okay now. Now you might be thinking, bro, that just sounds like that mindset, grind set stuff. Well, it's not. It's neuroplasticity. It's meaning your brain, this little squishy thing, it can change. I say that all the time because I believe it. And more than a belief, it's been researched over and over and over again. And we know that our brains can change. We can rewire our brain through what we put in our brain, through how we think, how we act, the exercises we do in order to calm our nervous systems down. So yeah, black and white thinking isn't a flaw. It's not your personality. It's your nervous system strategy that overstayed its welcome, but it kept you alive when you needed it. But now you're good. You can turn it off. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys for watching. Leave your like, leave your subscription, and maybe leave a comment or two because I like you guys. Ciao.
Silent Mind said he likes us.